Hey everyone. Some of you who follow me on the Fediverse and on Bluesky know about this video already, and others, well, here's your chance to be today's lucky 10,000, I guess. There was a conversation happening where I was essentially begrudging some news articles and blog posts by, I won't call them boomers exactly, they're not old people. They're people who are mainstream enough, kind of suit and tie enough, and a lot of times, like, they're not tech reporters. They're like reporters who are assigned the tech beat for the summer because, like, ooh, DEF CON, blue hair. It's, you know this advice. You know the types of posts. It's all the dumb shit of like, oh, DEF CON is coming, hide, lock up your cell phones. Like, don't go there with a laptop, write all your passwords down and throw them into a river. Everything you're gonna take with you is gonna get hacked. Don't bring a blender, it won't run on the right speed. Never trust an ATM in the entire city of Las Vegas. I am so tired of that advice. Like, there's a lot of good advice that there could be given to people going to DEF CON. This video was not going to be long enough to give you all that advice. But I wanted to debunk some of the worst things, and maybe we can cover a few of the most important things. So, 3 points I want to make about this whole everything is going to get hacked at DEF CON, don't bring any devices, if you do bring them, put them in a Faraday bag. This is actual stuff that I've seen like mainstream journalists write, and it's dumber than all shit. There once was a time, back in ye olden of DEF CON, when literally it was a dangerous place to bring tech. Now, there was a few different reasons for this. One, we didn't have ubiquitous mobile data. Everyone was connecting to the network at all times. And the network was swimming with crazy malware, and no one was really policing a lot of the network back then. Also, it was dangerous because people would throw you in the goddamn pool in the hot tub. Like, that's when tech was dangerous to have at DEF CON. Those days are past. Please go ahead and feel free to bring tech to DEF CON. In fact, it's really important for a number of reasons to maybe have a laptop or at the very least your goddamn phone at DEF CON. DEF CON's huge, okay? It's massive. I've been going to DEF CON since 8. This is going to be DEF CON 31, I think. Back in the day, the Alexis Park, when I started going, like, DEF CON was, what the hell, was it a few hundred people, maybe 1,000, if that? Now it's like, what the hell, is DEF CON's like 30,000 people, 20,000 people? You can't see all of DEF CON. You can't even see your own friends at DEF CON if you can't be in touch with them. So I do advise having some kind of communications device on you. Does it have to be your daily driver smartphone? It doesn't have to be. If you're especially paranoid, and we'll talk about why you may or may not want to be, bring a YOLO phone. It's not a burner phone. Oh my God. A burner phone, and maybe this is just my activist hat, like, if you're out there eating tear gas in black bloc, you understand, like, a burner phone means a very specific thing. A burner phone is like bought with a prepaid card, it's not tied to you, no one has a burner phone. You can have a YOLO phone, you can buy a cheaper phone that you don't care if it gets broken, lost, lit on fire. Okay, sure, but you should probably have some of your main apps that you use for, like, I don't know, Signal, or social media, or just at least some texting. Have communication-based apps on the phone. Have them signed in before you get to the con. Like, you don't want to be trying to push new session tokens, like, on the DEF CON network, right? But be able to be in touch with your friends. Be able to, like, look up what's going on. There's an app called the Hacker Tracker. Silly name. It has nothing to do with, like, tracking your movements. It has to do with tracking what's going on at huge events. And not just DEF CON. It's good for a lot of cons. Hacker Tracker has a lot of data in it. And you can flag certain things. You can bookmark them. I want to see this talk. I want to see that workshop. And it'll remind you, hey, if you want to see that thing, you better start hustling. You got to get way over to this other ballroom. So yeah, have the Hacker Tracker. Just be able to look stuff up. Be able to look up important information, take notes, being able to actually hack on shit. Maybe you have your laptop with a Proxmark, or you're connected to your Flipper, or you're doing some kind of RF stuff. Like, you need tech to do that in a lot of the villages. Now, does this mean you bring your daily driver devices in vanilla configuration and use them like you would at home? I wouldn't do that. The device you bring will tell you a lot about how safe it is to have around DEF CON. Laptops are a little harder to secure than phones, principally because Well, occasionally you'll have a laptop that has a little GSM radio built in for data, right? But most laptops, you're connecting to some kind of data. Now, if you want to just run your laptop with no network connection, like, you're going to be fine. I don't think there's some super secret Chinese malware using the sound card to like hook into your kernel and do crazy stuff like you read in a Bloomberg article. But if you take a laptop to the con, maybe it's not your work laptop, maybe it's got a VM on it or a fresh image, or it's just, again, like a YOLO laptop that you know you're going to wipe when you get home. It doesn't have a lot of important stuff on it. You just need a laptop to run Kali or to run a Proxmark or something like that. That's fine. Your phone, maybe you buy like, you know, a junker phone that's not going to be your best phone, because again, like, you want your $600, $500 smartphone like thrown in a pool. If you're going to get super hammered and wasted on drugs, maybe you bring like the $200 like cheapo phone. Okay. But if you bring your actual daily driver phone, which by the way, I've been doing for years, what do? I don't connect it to the open romper room network that is DEF CON. There is a secure network. I don't, you know, tend to need to connect to anything. I don't even connect to the hotel network because I have mobile data. Do I think that like the feds are there running stingrays or China is doing something funky with the GSM like bands? Maybe. That's why I'm not doing super sensitive stuff on my phone when I'm there. I'm not logging into my banking apps. I'm not doing any, like, sure, I'm using Signal. I'm using some social media because I've already logged in before I got there, and I updated my phone just before I got there. I'm not going to install a bunch of new updates when I'm at DEF CON, but that's probably fine. You want to get extra paranoid? Like, okay, if you want all your data to be super slow, run a VPN. Like, if you're connected to a VPN, one that uses proper key exchange so it understands if it's being middled, I don't think anyone's going to sniff at you and tell you you're not like smart or you're being foolish. If you are extra paranoid and you literally show up with a YOLO phone with none of your sensitive stuff on it anyway, you connect to a VPN, and people, oh, turn Bluetooth off, turn your other antennas off, don't use tap to pay. Who gives a shit about tap to pay? Like, the payment system is all like fraud protected at this point. If you literally have a bank that doesn't do fraud protection, like, get a better freaking bank. But yeah, like, you're fine. You can use a tap-to-pay credit card if you really want to. You understand, like, the EMVCo network, the way that works, it's a unique token each time. It's supposed to not be replayable. All of my finance people in the comments tell me I'm wrong. But you're fine. You can live a normal human life at DEF CON. In fact, you can do better than a normal human life because you're not logging into work stuff, right? You leave work alone. It's a weekend. Have fun with your friends. Hack on cool shit. But you don't have to leave your phone in a Faraday bag in the in-room safe, which isn't safe anyway. Now, when I mentioned about maybe not logging into your online banking or doing something crazy sensitive with work when you're at DEF CON, you understand these are good life rules to live by in general, not just at DEF CON. If you're on an untrusted network, if you're at Starbucks or McDonald's free Wi-Fi or something, if you're just out in the world, maybe be a little more cautious about what you're doing if you think there's a lot of strangers around on the same network as you. This isn't just DEF CON advice, this is life advice. Also, your life is different than her life, is different than their life, is different than my life, is different than his life. Everyone's risk model is different. Like, we were just hanging out with our friend Eva Galperin, and, you know, she's like, yeah, you know, I don't do sensitive stuff at DEF CON, but also I don't do sensitive stuff like anywhere outside of, you know, certain offices where I work. Because again, like, her threat model is way different than our threat model. Think about your own threat model and try to live that sensibly and do things the right way with data hygiene, not just at the con. Do it every day. Make it a daily practice, and DEF CON shouldn't be that scary at all. What is scary at DEF CON? Getting into a bad situation where your health is going to suffer, or your safety is going to suffer, or your good time and the people around you, their good time is going to suffer. What's the best way to avoid this kind of problem? Well, two things. One, go with friends. Have friends. Check in on your friends. Again, this is not life advice just for DEF CON. It's for all the days of your life. If you're going to a party with a bunch of people and it's time to leave, like, are you leaving someone behind? Do they have a way home? Are they drinking too much? Have they done a bunch of drugs? Do you know which drugs they've been doing? Like, check in with people because things can get out of hand. But for solo individual advice, how many people out there have heard the 3-2-1 rule? You know this. If you've been to DEF CON, I know you've heard this. 3-2-1. We'll talk about it, then I'll talk about my spin on it. If you're not familiar with the DEF CON 3-2-1 rule, DEF CON is long. It is not just a weekend anymore. It's like an extended weekend. It's an endurance challenge. It's in Vegas. It's hot. It's massive. Nutrition's not great. Booze is free-flowing. Craziness abounds. 3 hours of sleep a night, 2 meals a day, 1 shower per day. Follow the 3-2-1 rule. Now, what is my little tweak on each of those 3 points? 3 hours of sleep, getting good sleep, where are you going to stay? A lot of people, if this is your first DEF CON, like it's not at a hotel anymore. You're like, oh man, it's the Caesars Forum. That is not the same thing as the Las Vegas Convention Center. That is not the same thing as the Caesars Forum shops. DEF CON used to be kind of between the Caesars and the Palace and the Flamingo and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, Caesars Forum is closest to the Link, L-I-N-Q. That's where a lot of people stay. That means it's the most raucous hotel of DEF CON. A lot of people moving and grooving, a lot of loud people in the lobby. If you need a quiet haven, maybe that's not where you belong. You've got some older properties that are still quite good. The Flamingo, the Harrah's, the Horseshoe, used to be called the Bally's, is down across the street. The Cromwell's right there. Honestly, you know where my wife and I stay, where a lot of our friends stay? The Westin. Beautiful, non-gambling hotel. Middle of DEF CON, everything is raging at DEF CON. Midday or mid-evening, you go to the Westin lobby, it's peaceful, it's quiet, there's a little restaurant right there. Now, it's a business hotel, you're going to pay Westin prices. But if you want a quiet place to be, a place that doesn't give you a lot of static about what you're bringing in and out, there's no room checks at the Westin, like all that bullshit that was security guards eating up everyone's asshole. No, the Westin's great. Point 2 of the 3-2-1 rule, 2 meals a day. Consider the following. Breakfast might be the most important meal of the day at DEF CON because it's the only one you can consistently get if you plan it. If you got yourself a little mini fridge, you know, somebody's got a car. Get yourself some kind of healthy, get some yogurt, get some nice cereal, get something in your room so you're like, all right, I'm just hungover enough that I can get something in me. Get yourself a healthy breakfast. Or, you know, go downstairs, get a healthy breakfast at your hotel before you trudge over to the con. Lunch is out the window. Lunch is haywire. Lunch is going to be pizza or some dog shit. Like, I never eat good lunch at DEF CON. Lunch is usually in a bottle. But dinner, can I tell you a gem of an idea about dinners at DEF CON? If you're not familiar with the concept at a lot of hacker cons called the vortex, that's where you just kind of get trapped in like a hallway conversation, many of which are great. Hallway con is amazing. But when it's time to plan dinner, it turns into this festival of like texting and signaling, and you're like, oh wait, we're gonna go to this place? No, who's going? He said we gotta go to this, but we're gonna get a ride. No, you have a car? Well, how many people are gonna fit in your car? Well, is Jake coming? Jake is coming, but he has Susan with him. No, Susan's like, what about Chris? Are they coming? We can get, no, Chris said they can't. Chris is coming. Well, which Chris? No, Chris number 2? Okay, all right, Chris 2 is coming. And your dinner plan turns into like 8 people standing in a lobby for 45 minutes before you even leave. And it's not the same 8 people. Someone runs up to their room, and someone goes to get a car, and then someone brings their significant other, but no, you're dating, that's the person's in a different polycule, and no, you can't have that person. And you never freaking move from the goddamn spot you're standing on. The best idea I've ever heard was my buddy Datagram. He plans all his dinners long before DEF CON. He literally reaches out to all his friends. He's not being exclusionary. He's not like telling people to leave him alone. He says, hey, everybody, here's my dinner plans during Black Hat and DEF CON. I'm going to be at these places. And he calls ahead. He gets like reservations. He's like, I got an 8 top, I got a 10 top, I got only 6 top on this steakhouse. The first people to email him saying, DG, I'm going to eat dinner with you this night, that night. He's like, great, you're on the list. If you didn't email fast enough, sorry, try later. We're all friends, we'll see each other again. But it means that every night, I mean, he's running a village, right? He runs the Tamper village with the MFPs. There's no fucking around. There's no texting. Nope, village is closed. I'm going to go upstairs. I'm going to wash up. I'll be going to the restaurant. Not even going to meet in the lobby. I'm going to the restaurant, the one you knew I was going to a month ago. And you said you were going to be there, these 6 people. And if you say you're going to be there and you don't show up, you go on the scumbags list. You never get invited again. You took someone else's seat. Don't do that. Don't say you're going to show up and then flake. But it means that he gets to have a leisurely, lovely, early sometimes dinner every night with some of his best friends, and it's just no bullshit. It's the most genius idea I've ever heard. Try to plant that one in your head. Come up with your own thing. I love it. 1 shower. This is important. Not just because everyone has their own standards of like bodily cleanliness. And by the way, if you're there with friends and someone really needs a shower, learn how to tell them that. Like, we all need to tell people like hard truths sometimes. Just tell your friends that. But if you're at DEF CON, please shower once a day. Even if you're like, no, I go camping in the Burning Man and the Playa, I'm fine, I can go days without showering. If you're not from Vegas, and if you don't live DEF CON 365 days a year, which no one does because DEF CON's unique, your body is going through punishment, right? It's hot, it's a mess, it's sticky, it's indoors air. There's a lot of reasons that I would encourage you to take extra measures. And this doesn't just include water pouring over your head. This is water pouring into your head. If you're not familiar with like rugged outdoor events, grueling multi-day brutality, like shooting events or something, when you hit the head, you should be looking down, and if you're not peeing clear, you're not drinking enough fluid. Beer is kind of a fluid. Water's better. Whiskey is not, right? A lot of us just wall-to-wall booze. It dehydrates you even more. Please get enough water in you. Look after yourselves. Look after your friends. DEF CON is not out to like crawl up your beehole and find the hidden cell phone and pwn it with malware from Korea. DEF CON's not going to ruin your entire digital experience, but it can be a hard time on your weekend if you're not a little prepared. Look out for one another. Look out for me if you see me. Come say hi to me in the hallway. No, I will not stop and vortex with you, but talk to me. I'll keep walking and talking to you. Tell me what you're up to. Tell me what you're seeing. Tell me where you're going. I want to meet you. Come say hey. And in the meantime, whether you're at the con or not, stay safe out there.